Shut it down. Now.
Contain it before it reaches the surface.
Let's go and find out what's happening in there.
In the heart of Africa's great savannah, where life moves in harmony with the whispering winds, something unnatural was stirring. Deep within a secret laboratory, miles away, scientists played with forces they barely understood. An experiment meant to cure disease became the birth of a monster. From the shattered remains of its cage, it slithered free. A python, unlike any seen before. Stronger, smarter, hungrier. It escaped into the wilderness, and soon its path would cross with the gentle giants of the plains, the elephants. What happened next would test the limits of courage, compassion, and human bravery. Stay with us, because what you're about to witness is no ordinary rescue. It's a fight between creation and nature itself. If you believe every life deserves a chance, like, share, and subscribe to join the rescue movement. This is Rescue Chronicles. It began deep within the walls of Biogen Laboratories, a secret research facility hidden far from any village or town. Inside, men and women in white coats worked tirelessly beneath cold blue lights. Their mission was bold: to alter snake DNA and harvest enhanced venom that could cure deadly diseases. But ambition has its shadows. Dr. Harris, the lead biogeneticist, stood before a glowing incubation chamber, his voice steady yet filled with pride. "We've stabilized the growth hormones," he said, adjusting the settings on the console. "If this works, we might just change medical science forever." Inside the chamber, a python embryo pulsed faintly, its veins glowing with a strange green light. A low hum filled the lab as the experimental serum spread through its veins. The team watched in silence, then gasped. The embryo twitched violently. Monitors beeped faster. "Vital signs are spiking," shouted Dr. Levine, one of the assistants. "It's growing too fast." But before anyone could react, the glass around the chamber began to crack. A deep guttural hiss echoed through the lab, the sound of life emerging from something unnatural. Shards of glass flew across the room. The python hit the floor, already several feet long, its scales shimmering with metallic hues. Dr. Harris took a step back, stunned. How is that possible? It's only been 2 weeks." The python lifted its head, eyes glowing in eerie amber. The temperature sensors flickered, alarms blaring as the creature's body mass spiked beyond containment limits. In minutes, it doubled in size, its body coiling through wires and equipment, crushing metal as if it were paper. "Evacuate the lab!" Dr. Harris screamed. "Seal the gates now!" Panic erupted. Scientists ran for the exits, papers and broken instruments scattering across the floor. But it was too late. The reinforced steel doors buckled under the python's weight. It let out a thunderous hiss, one that rattled the walls of Biogen itself before slithering through the shattered entrance into the cold night beyond. The facility's power grid failed one section after another, lights flickering as the creature vanished into the wild. Outside, under the dim glow of the moon, it disappeared into the darkness of the savannah. And as silence returned to the broken lab, Dr. Harris stood motionless, staring at the empty cage that once held the most dangerous creation his hands had ever made. His whisper trembled in the dark. "God help us all." Far away from the broken laboratories and the chaos of human ambition, the sun rose gently over the vast African savannah. Golden rays brushed across tall grass, and air hummed with the music of life. A herd of elephants moved gracefully through the open plains, their trunks swaying, their heavy steps in rhythm with the earth itself. Among them was Mara, a strong, gentle mother, and her lively little calf, Toto. The pair were inseparable. Toto would chase butterflies and stumble over tufts of grass, while Mara watched fondly, her eyes soft with pride. She sprayed him with cool water from a shallow stream, and Toto squealed with delight, spinning in circles as birds fluttered overhead. For a moment, all was calm, the kind of peace only nature could create. But peace never lasts when something unnatural is loose in the wild. Deep in the distance, unseen by the herd, something enormous slithered across the grasslands, silent, deliberate, unstoppable. The mutant python had been moving for days, drawn by the vibrations of large animals. Hunger burned in its body, its instincts twisted by the experiment that had created it. The wind shifted. A faint vibration reached Mara's feet. She froze, trunk lifted, sniffing the air. Her ears flared, listening. Nothing yet, only the soft rustle of grass and the buzzing of insects. Toto kept playing, splashing in the shallow pool. But then the birds above them suddenly went silent. A heartbeat later, they burst into flight, 1,000 wings beating frantically into the sky. Toto stopped. His little ears twitched. Then came the sound, low, dry, and heavy, grass bending under something enormous. Prrr, prrr, Toto cried out, stumbling toward his mother. Mara's instincts took over. She placed herself between her calf and the sound, trumpeting loudly, warning the herd. The others began to move, uneasy, forming a protective circle around the young. The grass in front of them rippled like a wave. Then, from the shadow of an acacia tree, 2 glowing amber eyes appeared. The mutant python was there. It moved like living thunder, massive coils sliding silently, the sun glinting off its metallic scales. The herd stomped, trumpeting in alarm. Toto pressed himself close to Mara's legs, trembling. Mara trumpeted again, a sound that echoed across the plains, a mother's cry of defiance. But the python didn't flinch. It lifted its head higher than an elephant's shoulder, tongue flickering, sensing heartbeats, warmth, and fear. And as it advanced, slow and deliberate, Toto's small voice broke through the chaos once more. Prrr, prrr. Not just a call of fear, but a plea for help that would soon reach ears far beyond the savannah. The air grew still, thick with tension. Every creature in the savannah seemed to hold its breath. The grass shivered, the earth vibrated, and from that uneasy silence, chaos erupted. Out of the tall grass, the monstrous python burst forth, its massive body glinting under the sun, scales rippling like armor. It was enormous, nearly 40 feet long, thick as a tree trunk, and it moved with terrifying speed. Before Mara could turn, it struck. The giant mutant python lunged straight for her, wrapping its colossal body around her legs and torso in a blur of motion. The ground shook beneath their struggle. Mara trumpeted in agony, a cry so powerful that it sent flocks of birds spiraling into the sky. Dust and broken branches flew as the serpent tightened its grip, every coil crushing the air from her lungs. "Raw!" she cried, her trunk thrashing wildly, searching for escape. Her powerful legs strained, but even her strength couldn't break free from the creature's impossible hold. Toto froze for a heartbeat, his wide eyes filled with confusion and terror. Then instinct took over. He charged toward the snake, trumpeting furiously, trying to push against its tail. His small body was nothing compared to the monster's mass, but his courage burned brighter than fear. The python turned slightly, its tongue flickering, as if to taste this new disturbance. It hissed, a sound so deep it vibrated through the ground. Toto stumbled backward, but didn't retreat. He circled his mother, desperate, trumpeting again and again, calling for help that would never come soon enough. Mara struggled to stay standing, her eyes rolling with pain as the coils tightened around her chest. Each breath came shorter, weaker. She slammed her trunk against the python's head, but it only enraged the beast further. It tightened again, bones creaking under the pressure. In the distance, the other elephants trumpeted in alarm, stomping and scattering. The herd's leader tried to return, but fear overtook them. Even the strongest among them dared not face what they could not comprehend. Mara's voice grew fainter, her cries echoing across the plains like a fading drum. But still, Toto didn't move. He pushed, he cried, he pulled at the coils with his tiny trunk, his squeals piercing the air. And then, for just a moment, Mara looked at him, her eyes filled with pain, yet fierce with love. A silent plea passed between them. "Run, my child. Run." But Toto didn't move. He trumpeted louder, a sound of desperation and defiance that rolled across the savannah. Somewhere far away on a dusty road beyond the grasslands, a human driver paused and turned his head, hearing that cry. He didn't know it yet, but that sound would soon lead him straight into the most dangerous rescue of his life.
Toto's tiny legs pounded against the dry earth, his little heart racing faster than ever before. Behind him, the sound of his mother's cries echoed faintly through the plains, each one weaker than the last. The wind carried the scent of dust, fear, and something else, the bitter, metallic smell of the serpent that had taken hold of Mara. The terrified calf ran without direction, his instincts guiding him toward the only faint sound that didn't belong to the wild, the distant hum of an engine. Ahead, a dirt road wound through the savannah, and along it came a safari truck, kicking up a cloud of red dust. Inside the truck, Jake, a local tour driver with years of experience in the bush, hummed softly to the radio, unaware of what was about to happen. Then, from the corner of his eye, he saw movement. A small gray figure burst through the tall grass, running straight toward him. "Whoa! What the—" Jake slammed the brakes, the truck screeching to a halt. His eyes widened. A baby elephant? Out here alone? Toto trumpeted frantically, running to the side of the vehicle. He tugged at the side mirror with his trunk, bumping the metal door as if trying to speak. Dust clung to his skin, and his small eyes glistened with desperation. Jake leaned out of the window, stunned. "Easy there, little guy. What's wrong? Where's your herd?" But Toto didn't stop. He let out another loud trumpet, shaking his head toward the plains, then looked back at Jake, pleading. He did it again, crying, pulling, looking toward the horizon. Jake's expression shifted. He could see the panic in the animal's movements. This wasn't just a lost calf. It was a cry for help. All right. Calm down, buddy," he said, reaching for his radio. "Rescue 1, come in. This is Jake from Sector 12. I think we've got an elephant in trouble. Repeat, possible emergency situation. Send backup immediately." Static hissed for a moment before a voice crackled back. "Copy that, Jake? What's your location?" "North ridge of the Mara sector. I've got a calf leading me somewhere. Looks urgent." The operator responded. "Rescue team mobilizing now. Keep visual and follow the animal if it moves." Jake threw the truck into gear. "All right, little one, show me where to go." Toto trumpeted once, turned, and began running back toward the direction he came from. Jake gripped the steering wheel tightly, his heart pounding. "This is crazy, but I'm not letting that calf go alone." The truck roared to life, bouncing over rough terrain as it followed the desperate elephant. Dust and sunlight swirled together as man and animal raced toward a nightmare waiting in the tall grass, one that neither of them was truly prepared to face.
At the rescue operations headquarters, the sharp buzz of an alarm shattered the calm morning. A red light spun across the control room as dispatchers leaned over monitors, listening to the urgent radio call crackling through the speakers. "Code Red! Animal distress alert from Sector 12!" one operator shouted. "Possible predator attack! Species unknown!" In the adjoining hangar, the rescue team jumped into action. Boots thundered across the concrete floor, gear clattered against metal racks, and engines began to roar to life. The air filled with the sound of readiness, controlled chaos mixed with purpose. Rescue Captain Daniels, a seasoned field commander with years of experience handling wild animal emergencies, snatched a headset from his desk and pressed the transmit button. His voice was steady but urgent. "Team Alpha, roll out. We've got a live predator situation. Possible constriction on a full-grown elephant. Repeat, possible constriction on an adult elephant. This is not a drill." Across the hangar, team members snapped into formation. Tranquilizer rifles were checked and loaded, heavy ropes coiled and slung over shoulders, and medical kits packed with antivenom and oxygen tanks were tossed into the back of the lead truck. "Truck 1 is ready. Dart rifles and pressure injectors secure," shouted Medic Sarah. "Truck 2 loaded and on standby," replied Marco, the field driver, as the diesel engines roared. Captain Daniels strode between the vehicles, his expression tight. "We move fast, but stay sharp. Whatever's out there, if it can take down an elephant, it's not ordinary wildlife." "Sir," one of the team members called out, glancing at the radar feed. "The signal came from the Mara Plains. That's open terrain, no cover, no barriers. If the animal's still active, we'll be exposed." Daniels nodded grimly. "Then we won't waste a second. That elephant's got minutes, maybe less." The massive rescue convoy surged forward. 4 trucks, sirens off but engines howling. Dust clouds rose behind them as they sped across the dry road, guided by the desperate radio signal from Jake's truck and the baby elephant's faint cries in the distance. As the base radio crackled with updates, the operator's voice followed them out into the wild. "Rescue Alpha, you are cleared for live capture protocol. Proceed with extreme caution." And with that, the heroes vanished into the savannah, chasing a race against nature, time, and a monster no one believed could exist. The rescue convoy tore across the dirt track, bouncing hard over roots and ridges. Jake's truck led the way, guided by Toto, who ran ahead tirelessly despite exhaustion. The baby elephant's cries echoed over the savannah, pulling the rescuers closer to the nightmare waiting beyond the horizon. "Stay on him," Captain Daniels ordered, gripping the side of the truck as they hit another dip. "If he stops, we're there." Minutes later, Toto slowed, his steps growing frantic as he looked back and trumpeted sharply. Jake slammed the brakes, dust clouding the air. "This is it," he shouted, voice shaking. "She's close. I can hear her." The rescue team jumped from their vehicles, loading tranquilizer rifles and securing ropes. They moved quickly through the thick grass, their boots crunching softly as the air filled with an awful sound, Mara's labored breathing and the deep, rhythmic hiss of the monstrous python. Medic Sarah froze first. "Oh my God, it's huge!" she gasped, her voice breaking. There it was. The mutant python was wrapped tightly around Mara, its massive coils gleaming like black steel under the sunlight. The elephant's eyes were half closed, trunk twitching weakly as she fought to breathe. Each of the snake's movements was deliberate, mechanical, and horrifyingly powerful. Captain Daniels lifted his rifle. "Tranq dart ready. Aim for the head, not the body. We don't want to hit the elephant." 2 rifles clicked in unison. The first dart shot through the air and missed, thudding harmlessly into the dirt. The second hit its mark, embedding deep into the snake's thick neck. The python's reaction was instant. It let out a guttural hiss, thrashing violently, its coils tightening before suddenly loosening again in disorientation. The ground trembled as it slammed its body against a tree, snapping branches like twigs. "Hold position," Captain Daniels shouted. "Get those ropes ready. Move! Move!" 3 rescuers darted forward, throwing heavy ropes around the python's middle coils, using the truck's winch to pull. "Tension at 50%, one called out. "Keep it steady." Sarah knelt beside Mara's trunk, checking for breathing. "She's fading fast, Captain. If we don't loosen it now, she won't make it." Daniels clenched his jaw. "Increase pull power, now!" Engines roared, the winch strained, the rope stretched taut, and with a thunderous snap of tension, the python's grip began to break. The great serpent writhed, its tail lashing against the ground, kicking up dust and stones. Another tranquilizer dart hit its shoulder. Its movement slowed, then weakened, until the monstrous body slumped to the ground, motionless, except for a faint twitch. "She's free!" Daniel shouted, running to Mara's side. "Watch your breathing!" Sarah placed her ear against the elephant's chest. "Weak pulse, but she's alive," she said, her face lighting up. "She's actually alive!" Behind them, Toto let out a trembling trumpet, then rushed forward, pressing his small trunk against his mother's. Mara responded weakly, exhaling a soft, tired rumble that vibrated through the ground. It was faint, but it was life. The team backed away, relief washing over every face. Daniels dropped to one knee, breathing heavily, watching the scene unfold before him. "You did it, little guy," he said softly, looking at Toto. "You brought us here." The python lay still in the dust, its enormous body sprawled across the clearing. Even sedated, its size was terrifying, nearly twice the length of any known species. Jake walked up slowly, shaking his head. "I've seen a lot out here, but nothing like that. What kind of creature was it?" Daniels looked back at the tranquilized monster. "Something that never should have existed," he said quietly. As the team checked the area for safety, Toto stayed by his mother's side, gently nudging her, refusing to leave her again. Mara's breathing steadied, her eyes fluttered open, and for the first time since the nightmare began, she was safe. And so, in the heart of the savannah, guided by the courage of a calf and the strength of humanity's compassion, a life that was moments from ending had been given back to the wild. Hours later, the chaos had settled, but the scene was far from calm. The massive python, still sedated, lay coiled and restrained within a reinforced steel cage, the metal creaking under its immense weight. Its scales shimmered faintly in the fading sunlight, each breath slow and deliberate. Around it, the rescue team moved cautiously, ensuring every latch was locked, every chain secure. 2 armored vans rumbled onto the scene, carrying scientists from Biogen Labs. Dr. Harris stepped out first, his face pale, his eyes wide with disbelief. He approached slowly, staring through the bars at the creature that had once been his experiment. "That's," he began, his voice trembling, "that's our specimen. I never imagined it would survive out here. Not like this." Captain Daniels turned toward him sharply. "You made this thing?" Harris hesitated, adjusting his glasses with shaking hands. "It wasn't supposed to evolve like this. The mutation, something must have triggered uncontrolled growth. It escaped before we could terminate the project." "Terminate?" Daniels snapped, stepping closer. "You created a weapon of nature and lost control. It nearly killed a mother elephant. Your mistake almost wiped out an entire herd." Harris lowered his head, his voice cracking. "You're right. We played God, and nature fought back." Behind them, the python stirred slightly, the sound of its scales scraping against the metal, sending a ripple of unease through everyone nearby. A handler quickly injected another dose of tranquilizer through the cage. Sarah exhaled, wiping her brow. "Let's keep that thing asleep. I don't think any of us want a round 2. Dr. Harris watched silently as his creation was lifted onto a transport truck designed for large predators, the doors locking with a heavy metallic clang. His eyes followed it until it disappeared into the distance, heading back to Biogen, this time under armed escort and reinforced containment. The rescue team gathered near Mara and Toto, who were now resting under a large acacia tree. Mara's breathing was steady, her strength slowly returning. Toto stood close beside her, pressing his trunk against hers, never letting go. Jake crouched beside them, smiling softly. "You're one tough lady," he said to Mara. "Guess we all learned something about not giving up today." Captain Daniels looked out over the plains where the sun was setting in brilliant gold. He said quietly, "Nature always finds a way to remind us. Power doesn't belong in our hands. It belongs out here." Dr. Harris stood a few paces behind, the wind rustling his coat, as he whispered almost to himself, "Maybe now we'll learn to respect what we can't control." And as the savannah fell back into peace, the rescued elephant and her brave calf became living proof of that lesson. A reminder that when humanity's ambition collides with nature's will, only courage and compassion can restore the balance.
Days later, the first rays of dawn painted the savannah in shades of gold and amber. The air was calm again. No more sirens, no more cries, just the soft rustle of grass and the distant hum of life returning to normal. Mara, now strong enough to walk, took slow, steady steps through the open plains. Each footfall left a deep impression in the soft earth. Beside her, little Toto trotted proudly, his trunk brushing her side as if to say, "We made it, Mama." The rescue team stood a few hundred meters away, watching silently. Their faces were tired, but warm with satisfaction. Captain Daniels folded his arms, a rare smile crossing his face. "We don't always get happy endings like this," he said softly, his voice breaking the silence. "But today, we did." Jake leaned on the truck door, chuckling. "That little guy's got more heart than most people I know." Sarah wiped her eyes, whispering, "He's the real hero here." Toto paused for a moment, turning his head toward the humans as if he understood. He raised his trunk high and trumpeted, a bright, joyous sound that echoed across the plains. Mara joined in, her call deep and powerful, a thank you carried on the wind. The team watched, moved beyond words. The bond between mother and child, once nearly severed by human recklessness, was now stronger than ever. From terror to triumph, this was more than a rescue. It was a reminder that courage, no matter how small, can change everything. That even in the darkest moments, hope can roar louder than fear. As the sun climbed higher, the elephants disappeared into the horizon, free, alive, and forever symbols of survival. And somewhere in the distance, the wind whispered through the tall grass, carrying with it the memory of the day brave heroes stood between nature and disaster and won. In a world where nature and humanity often collide, compassion is what bridges the divide. Today, a mother and her calf were given a second chance, but so many others still wait for theirs. If this story moved you, share it to spread awareness about wildlife protection. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible rescues, because every life, no matter how wild or small, deserves a second chance.